lovelies, it's time for another round of Have I Read It? So stay tuned. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. Have I Read It is one of my multiple TBR games that I play in order to help pick my TBR for the upcoming month. And the way this one works is you get to help pick my TBR. So I react to one of my hauls from over 3 years ago, and I tell you if I've read the book, if I haven't read the book, if I've unhauled the book, and out of all the books that I still own that I have not read from that haul, you get to vote on which book or books you want me to read in the upcoming month. And depending on how many there were in the unread, then that determines how many I have to pick. So if there are 1 to 10 that I have not read, then I have to pick the number 1 voted book. If there's 11 to 20, I have to pick the top 2 voted books, and so on and so on. So today we're going to be reacting to my book haul and unhaul May 2020. We won't go over the unhaul portion of this. So I have my earbuds connected. Wish me luck. Let's get started. Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today I have my May book haul and unhaul, so stay tuned. So I accumulated a lot of books in the month of May, either from birthday gifts or books that were kind of donated to my mom and she passed on to me, or subscription boxes. So I have 41 books to haul for you, and I have a box of 23 books to unhaul for you. So let's just get started. I'm going to start with the books that we're hauling. So the first 4 books that I have here, these were sent to me from the lovely Nicole Bannister as birthday gifts, and I can't say thank you enough. It was so incredibly generous of her, and I love them all, and I'm so excited for them. So the first one is The Thief of Karaman. It's book 1 in the Fairy Tales of Folkshore by Lucy Tempest. I have not read that, and I can almost guarantee that I do still own it. Let me look. So I was correct. I do still own it. I have not read it, though I am excited for it because, I mean, looking on Goodreads, the very first thing it says is the selection meets Aladdin. I love me a good retelling. Also, I love the selection series. So this says 1 month, 50 contestants, 1 prince, an impossible heist. You have been summoned to Sunstone Palace to compete in our search for the future queen of Karaman. After years on the run, Adelaide thinks her lonely and dangerous life as a thief is finally over. But her world is upended when a witch steals her away to a faraway kingdom to perform an impossible heist. If Adelaide fails, her newfound family would be sacrificed to a beast. To complete her mission, she's forced to assume the role of a noblewoman and enter a royal competition. The prize is the hand of the elusive crown prince. Elimination means certain death. As the witch's literal deadline approaches, Adelaide has one last gamble to save the day and to escape the new life with Cyrus, the handsome and mysterious fellow thief who stole her heart. But everything falls apart when the prince finally reveals himself. Fairy Tales of Folkshore is a series of interconnected fairy tale retellings that start with the Karaman trilogy. Ada's story continues in Prince of Karaman. So if you want me to read this, vote Thief of Karaman. And I'll put it up on the screen too, so that you can see how it's spelled, because I don't know if the book's showing it well enough, and that could be a complicated spelling. So yeah, comment down below if you want me to read that. All right, let's continue on. So after I read The Wives by Taryn Fisher, I went on Amazon and added all of her books to my Amazon wish list. And I found this series that she did with Colleen Hoover, and I was just like, oh my gosh, because I have enjoyed all of Colleen Hoover's books that I've read as well. So I, of course, had to add this. And Nicole sent me part 2 of this series, and it's called Never Never. Okay, so Never Never, okay, that was part 2. And I never ended up getting part 1 of that. But then there came a bind up of the whole collection, so I bought that, and I believe I have unhauled this edition because I just had one small part. So I unhauled that, but I do still have the full like bind up or whatever that I have not read, but we're not counting that one because that one's not in this haul. All right, next up. Also, she sent me a book. I happened to see this, I forget where. I think I saw it on Goodreads and it sounded interesting. And also, I remember reading a lot of this author back when I was like in middle school or early high school time. And I really enjoyed her stories. And when I saw this is I think a newer book by her, and I just thought it sounded really interesting. And that is A Summer of Fear by Louise Duncan. I don't know if I still have that or not. Let me check. I do still own that one. I have it in my guest room closet, I believe. So this says, from the moment Rachel's family takes in her orphan cousin Julia, strange things start to happen. Rachel grows suspicious, but soon finds herself alienated from her own life. Julia seems to have enchanted everyone to turn against her, leaving Rachel on her own to try and prove that Julia is a witch. One thing about Julia is certain: she is not who she says she is, and Rachel's family is in grave danger. So if you want me to read this, vote Summer of Fear. All right, next up. Nicole also got me White Rabbit by Kayla Brorrig. I definitely do still own this one, and I have not read it. Caleb Rorig was one of our season-a-thon authors, so I have his book downstairs in my dining room on my special shelf for the season-a-thon authors. All right, this says, Rufus Holt is having the worst night of his life. It begins with the reappearance of his ex-boyfriend, Sebastian, the guy who stomped his heart out like a spent cigarette. Just as Rufus is getting ready to move on, Sebastian turns up out of the blue saying they need to talk. Things couldn't get much worse, right? But then Rufus gets a call from his sister April begging for help. And then he and Sebastian find her drenched in blood and holding a knife beside the dead body of her boyfriend, Fox Whitney. April swears she didn't kill Fox, but Rufus knows her too well to believe she's telling him the whole truth. April has something he needs, though, and her price is his help. Now, with no one to trust but the boy he wants to hate, yet can't stop loving, Rufus has one night to prove his sister's innocence or die trying. So if you want me to read this, vote White Rabbit. All right, next up. Okay, next up. These two books came from a subscription box. They came from, I had some boxes that were still owed me from Totally Book Crate, and she just got around to sending those out. So she sent me House of Salt and Sorrow by Erin A. Craig. Okay, so House of Salt and Sorrows, I do still own, but I don't own that copy because I unhauled that copy because I got House of Salt and Sorrows in a different subscription box and I liked that edition better. So this is an unhaul. All right, next up. She also sent me Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron. I don't know about Kingdom of Souls. Let me check. Okay, it looks like I do still own this one and I have not read it. This says, there's magic in her blood. Explosive fantasy is set in a world of magic and legend where one girl must sacrifice her life year by year to gain the power necessary to fight the mother she has never been good enough for. Perfect for fans of Sarah J. Maas, Tomi Adeyemi, and Black Panther. There's magic in her blood. Ara is a young woman from a long line of the most powerful witch doctors in the land, but she fails at magic, fails to call upon the ancestors, and can't even cast the simplest curse. Shame and disappointment dog her. When strange premonitions befall her family and children in the kingdom begin to disappear, Ara undergoes the dangerous and scorned process of selling years of her life for magic. This borrowed power reveals a nightmarish betrayal and a danger beyond what she could have imagined. Now Ara must find a way to master magic, or at least buy it, in order to save herself and everything she holds dear. An explosive fantasy set in a world of magic and legend with a twist you'll never see coming. So if you want me to read this, vote Kingdom of Souls. All right, next up. Okay, then I have books that I got from Unplugged Book Box. So these 6 books came from Unplugged Book Box. So the first one I have here, and I can't recall which ones are from the young adult and which ones are from the adult, at least until I read what it says. The first one is Weave the Lightning by Corey L. Lee. I don't know. I feel like that's one that I might have unhauled, but I'm not sure. It looks like I still own it, and I have not read it. This is Empire Revolution Magic. Garrett is the son of Borish Kanya's Supreme General. Despite his powerful storm affinity and the state's best training, he can't control his magic. To escape the brutal consequences, he runs. Selka is a traveling circus performer, hiding both her link to the underground and her storm affinity from the prying eyes of the secret police. But Garrett's arrival threatens to expose everything: her magic, her family, and the people they protect. The storms have returned and everything will change. So if you want me to read this, vote Weave the Lightning. Alright, I got 5 on the list so far. Next up. Next we have The Borgia Confessions by Alyssa Palumbo. I don't remember. I feel like I might have read this, but I'm not 100% sure. No, I have not read it, and yes, I do still own it. So this says, during the sweltering Roman summer of 1492, Rodrigo Borgia, I don't know, has risen to power as Pope. Rodrigo's eldest son, Caesar, forced to follow his father into the church, and newly made the Archbishop of Valencia, chafes at his existential role and fumes with jealousy and resentment at the way that his foolish brother has been chosen for the military greatness he desired. Maddalena Moretti comes from the countryside, where she has seen how the whims of powerful men wreak havoc on the lives of ordinary people. But now, employed as a servant in the Vatican Palace, she cannot help but be entranced by Caesar Borgia's handsome face and manner, and finds her faith and conviction crumbling in her want for him. As war rages and shifting alliances challenge the Pope's authority, Maddalena and Caesar's lives grow inexplicably entwined. Maddalena becomes a keeper of dangerous Borgia secrets, and must decide if she's willing to be a pawn in the power games of the man she loves. And as jealousy and betrayal threaten to tear apart the Borgia family from within, Caesar is forced to reckon with his seemingly limitless ambition. Alyssa Palumbo's captivating new novel, The Borgia Confessions, is a story of passion, politics, and class, set against the rise and fall of one of Italy's most infamous families, the Borgias. So if you want me to read this, vote The Borgia Confessions. Alright, next up. Then we have, this is probably the one I'm most excited for, The Midnight Lie by Marie Rutowski. Okay, I'm pretty sure, yep, I do still own it. It's on my shelf right over here. I have not read it, so let me pull that up for you. Alright, this says, where Narim lives, crime abounds. A harsh tribunal rules, and society's pleasures are reserved for the high Kaith. Life in the ward is grim and punishing. People of her low status are forbidden from swapping sweets or wearing colors. You either follow the rules or pay a tithe and suffer the consequences. Narim keeps her head down and a dangerous secret close to her chest. But then she encounters Sid, a rakish traveler from far away who whispers rumors that the high caste possesses magic. Sid tempts Narem to seek that magic for herself, but to do that, Narem must surrender her old life. She must place her trust in this sly stranger who asks, above all, not to be trusted. Set in the world of the New York Times best-selling Winners trilogy, beloved author Maria Rutowski returns with an epic LGBTQ romantic fantasy about learning to free ourselves from the lies others tell us and the lies we tell ourselves. So if you want me to read this, vote The Midnight Lie. All right, next up. Next up is The Edge of Everything by Nora Shalloway Carpenter. I feel like I might have unhauled this, but I have to check. No, actually, it looks like it should probably be here in my office. This says, a vibrant hashtag On Voices debut YA novel about grief, mental health, and the transformative power of friendship. Lynn is a lone teenage photographer haunted by a past that stagnated her work and left her terrified she's losing her mind. Sage is a high school volleyball star desperate to find a way around her sudden medical disqualification. Both girls need college scholarships. After a chance encounter, the two develop an unlikely friendship that enables them to begin facing their inner demons. But both Lynn and Sage are keeping secrets that left hidden could cost them everything, maybe even their lives. Set in the North Carolina mountains, this dynamic On Voices novel explores grief, mental health, and the transformative power of friendship. So if you want me to read this, vote The Edge of Anything. All right, next up. Next we have, and this is one that I actually already have an arc of. So I'll probably get rid of the arc at some point. I have to dig it out, but I'll keep this one. That is The Book of Second Chances by Catherine Slee. Its pages will lead to a world of possibilities. I feel like I still have this, but at the same time I could have unhauled it. I don't know. I don't think I've read it. Nope, that is one I have actually unhauled. All right, next up. Next we have Elysium Girls by Kate Pentecost. I don't know. I feel like possibly I have unhauled it. Every time I take a guess, I'm wrong. So apparently I have not unhauled this, and I do still own it. In this swiping Dust Bowl-inspired fantasy, a 10-year game between life and death pits the walled Oklahoma city of Elysium, including a girl gang of witches and a demon who longs for humanity, against the supernatural in order to judge mankind. When Sal is named successor to Mother Morvina, a powerful witch and leader of Elysium, she jumps at the chance to prove herself to the town. Ever since she was a kid, Sal has been plagued by false visions of rain, and though people think she's a liar, she knows she's a leader. Even the arrival of enigmatic outsider Asa, a human-obsessed demon in disguise, doesn't shake her confidence in her ability, until a terrible mistake results in both Sal and Asa's exile into the desert of dust and steel. Face to face with a brutal, unforgiving landscape, Sal and Asa join a gang of girls headed by another Elysium exile and young witch herself, Olivia Rosales. In order to atone for their mistake, they create a cavalry of magic-powered scrap metal horses to save Elysium from the coming apocalypse. But Sal, Asa, and Olivia must do more than simply tip the scales in Elysium's favor. Only by reinventing the rules can they beat life and death at their own game. So if you want me to read this, vote Elysium Girls. All right, next up. Okay, so the rest of the books here are books that somebody gave my mom, and then my mom passed on to me. This first book here is probably the oldest of them, and I'm keeping it just because I think it's cool. I don't know that I would actually use it, but I mean, it's a cool book. And that is America's Favorite Recipes, Sweet Favorites Edition, including party beverages. I'm pretty sure I do still own this. I'm not going to mark anything for this one though, because this was one that I didn't figure I would actually ever use. This was something I just wanted to add to my collection of like older books and stuff because I thought it was neat, being such an old cookbook. But also, as far as cookbooks go, they're not something you read front to back anyway. So even if it was a regular cookbook, I would just say marked as read because it's a cookbook. All right, next up. Okay, next up we have Lost and Found Sisters by Jill Shalvis. I feel like I have unhauled this. Well, let me check. No, it looks like I still own it. And I have not read it. This says, they say life can change in an instant. After losing her sister in a devastating car accident, Chef Quinn Weller is finally getting her life back on track. She appears to have it all: a loving family, a dream job in one of LA's hottest eateries, and a gorgeous boyfriend dying to slip an engagement ring on her finger. So why does she feel so empty, like she's looking for a missing piece she can't find? The answer comes when a lawyer tracks down Quinn and reveals a bombshell secret and a mysterious inheritance that only she can claim. This shocking revelation washes over Quinn like a tidal wave. Her whole life has been a lie. On impulse, Quinn gives up her job, home, and boyfriend. She heads up the coast to the small hometown of Windstone, California, which is just a few hours north but feels worlds apart from Los Angeles. Though she doesn't quite fit in right away, she can't help but be drawn to the town's simple pleasures and the handsome, dark-haired stranger who offers friendship with no questions asked. As Quinn settles into Windstone, she discovers there's another surprise in store for her. The inheritance isn't a house or money, but rather something earth-shattering, something that will make her question everything she thought she knew about herself, about her family. Now, with a world of possibilities opening up to Quinn, she must decide if this new life is the one she was always meant to have, and the one that could finally give her the fulfillment she's searched so long for. So, if you want me to read this, vote Lost and Found Sisters. We still got a ways to go, and I think we got like 9 on the list so far. Alright, next up. Okay, next we have Summerland by Ellen Hildebrand. I'm not even going to guess. I'm just going to look. I know what I think, but that's been wrong every time, so I do still own it, and I have not read it. This says, A Summer's Night, A Deadly Crash, and 4 Lives Changed Forever, in the page-turning new bestseller from Ellen Hildebrand. A warm June evening, a local tradition, the students of Nantucket High have gathered for a bonfire on the beach. What begins as a graduation night celebration ends in tragedy after a horrible car crash leaves the driver, Penny Allister, dead and her twin brother in a coma. The other passengers, Penny's boyfriend Jake and her friend Demeter, are physically unhurt, but the emotional damage is overwhelming. Questions linger about what happened before Penny took the wheel. As summer unfolds, startling truths are revealed about the survivors and their parents, secrets kept, promises broken, hearts betrayed. Ellen Hildebrand explores the power of community, family, and honesty, and proves that even from the ashes of sorrow, new love can take flight. So if you want me to read this, vote Summerland. Okay, so that puts us at 10. If I have even one more, then I have to pick at least the top 2 voted books. Alright, next up. Then we have 3 Wishes by Leanne Moriarty. I don't know. Okay, it looks like I do still own this, and I have not read it. This says, Lynn, Kat, and Gemma Kettle, beautiful 33-year-old triplets, seem to attract attention everywhere they go. Whenever they're together, laughter, drama, and mayhem seem to follow. But apart, each is very much her own woman, dealing with her own share of ups and downs. Lynn has organized her life into one big checklist, juggling the many balls of work, marriage, and motherhood with expert precision. But is she as together as her date book would have her seem? Kat has just learned a startling secret about her marriage. Can she bring another life into a very precarious world? And can free-spirited Gemma, who bolts every time a relationship hits the 6-month mark, ever hope to find lasting love? In this wise, witty, hilarious new novel, we follow the Kettle sisters through their 33 third year as they struggle to survive their divorced parents dating each other, their technologically savvy grandmother, a cheating husband, champagne hangovers, and the fabulous frustrating. Okay, so if you want me to read this, vote 3 wishes, which puts us over 10. So I will be picking at least the top 2 voted books, though stay to the end because there are some on this list, even though I'm definitely going to be picking at least the top 2, some of these on the list you don't have to vote for, because I'm going to unhaul. Like, my plan is to unhaul as soon as I'm finished filming this, because after reading synopsises of some of these, I'm not as interested because I forget about what these books are about, and yeah, looking back on them now, I don't really care to read some of these unless there's like an overwhelming vote for one of these that's supposed to be unhauled. I'll be unhauling quite a few of these actually. All right, next up is The Last Anniversary by Leanne Moriarty. Let me look. Okay, this is another one that I do still own and have not read. This says, Sophie Honeywell always wondered if Thomas Gordon was the one she let get away. He was the perfect boyfriend, but on the day he was to propose, she broke his heart. A year later, he married his travel agent, while Sophie has been mortifyingly single ever since. Now Thomas is back in her life because Sophie has unexpectedly inherited his Aunt Connie's house on Scribbly Gum Island, home of the famously unsolved Monroe baby mystery. Sophie moves onto the island and begins a new life as part of an unconventional family where it seems everyone has a secret. Grace, a beautiful young mother, is feverishly planning a shocking escape from her perfect life. Margie, a frumpy housewife, has made a pact with a stranger, while dreamy Aunt Rose wonders if maybe it's about time she started making her own decisions. As Sophie's life becomes increasingly complicated, she discovers that sometimes you have to stop waiting around and come up with your own fairy tale ending. Leanne Moriarty once again combines a sharp wit, lovable and eccentric characters, and a page-turning story for an unforgettable last anniversary. So if you want me to read this, vote Last Anniversary. All right, next up. Next up, we have The Lemon Sisters by Jill Shalvis. All right, let me see. Okay, so it looks like I do still own this, but this is book 3, and Lost and Found Sisters is book 1. So I'm going to mark this as unread, but it's not one that you would vote for, just because you're already going to be voting for the first book, Lost and Found Sisters. All right, next. Okay, next up is Clock Dance by Ann Tyler. I have unhauled Clock Dance. I remember unhauling that one. So, next up. Next up is Henry's Sisters by Kathy Lamb. I have also unhauled that one. Next. Then we have The Book Club by Mary Alice Monroe. I feel like I still have The Book Club. Let me double check. I know I got it signed years ago because I happened to see them at, I think it was Y'all Fest one year. Okay, it does look like I still own it and I haven't read it. This says, Mary Alice Monroe invites you to meet 5 remarkable characters as she explores the power of friendship with tenderness, honesty, and understanding. On the surface, it's a monthly book club, but for 5 women, it's so much more. For Eve Porter, whose husband's sudden death cheats her of her every security she had planned on, the club is a place of sanctuary. For Annie Blake, a brilliant attorney intent on starting a family late in life, it is the chance to finally let down her guard and dream of other possibilities. For Doris Bridges, it's her support group as she acknowledges her dying marriage and finds the ultimate freedom in her husband's betrayal. For Gabriella Riviera, the perfect wife, mother, and friend who offers support to everyone but is afraid to ask for it herself, it is a sense of community. And for Midge Kirsch, An artist who has always lived her life against the grain, it's a haven of acceptance. There are 5 women from different walks of life embracing the challenge of change, and as they share their hopes and fears and triumphs, they will hold fast to the true magic of book club friendship. So if you want me to read this, vote the book club. I have no idea how many books we have left. I still see there's a whole stack there with at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, with at least 8 books, and I'm not sure how many are still like behind where I can't see. And I think we're at 14 that I have like still own and haven't read. So it only takes 6 or 7 more. And I'll have to pick the top 3 voted books. All right, next up. Next up we have The Sea Sprite Inn by Lynette Adair. I don't know. This looks like I still own it and have not read it. Okay. This says, please won't you come in, sit down, and relax with us. The Sea Sprite Inn is a charming tale about the owner of a Rehoboth beach bed and breakfast. As the book opens, Jillian finds herself in the middle of a perfect storm of stressful situations. She's newly divorced, lost her job, and now her daughter is leaving for college abroad. When her beloved grandfather has a health crisis, Jillian inherits the responsibility for his debilitated family beach home. Instead of looking for a way out, she leaps at the chance to reinvent herself. With the help of some loyal friends and a newly discovered sense of purpose, Jillian begins renovating the old beach house. Under the floorboards, she discovers a mysterious World War II ammo box filled with vintage keepsakes. Within the novel, each chapter brings new visitors who share their special stories with you. Guests include a klutzy bargain shopper who hires a local fisherman to help her catch dinner and gets more than she bargained for. A couple who take the ferry to Cape May for an evening picnic at the lighthouse and learn that things are not always as they appear. A woman with a new bathing suit that may have special properties. A teenager who is focused on breaking a record and finds a different kind of reward. And a woman who searches for something but discovers it was never missing. Come on in, put your feet up. We think you'll truly enjoy reading as Jillian turns lemons into the Sea Sprite Inn. So if you want me to read this, vote the Sea Sprite Inn. All right, next up. Next. Okay, so there were a lot of different diet books and stuff like that in the things that were given to me. And I think this is the only one that I decided to keep. That is Mayo Clinic Healthy Weight Plan. It says complete with nutrition and exercise tips, slim down menus, and recipes. I would still have this. I'm just going to mark this one as read because this is sort of like a cookbook type thing. It's like a meal plan thing. All right, next up. All right, next up we have Between Sisters by Kristen Hanna. So I have unhauled Between Sisters, but I have read it. That was one of them that I read with my coffee patrons. I think it was, yeah, one of our buddy reads of the month one year. So, yay. I think that's the first one that I can say I've read. I can't remember if I've had any in this video so far that I've said I read. All right, next up. Then we have A Million Little Things by Susan Mallory. I have to check. Okay, so this is one that I unhauled because it actually was book 3 in the series and I didn't have the other books in that series. And since these were just like given to me, I went ahead and unhauled that. All right, next up. Next up we have To Have and to Hold by Jane Green. I feel like I've unhauled this one, but I need to check. Actually, it looks like I do still own it and have not read it. This says, what happens when your Prince Charming turns out to not be so charming after all? To Have and to Hold, best-selling author Jane Green offers a sizzling, highly entertaining look at romantic relationships after we say I do. Alice knows she should be happy. A charming 28-year-old with a successful catering business, she's always dreamed of a rose-covered cottage in the English countryside, filled with children and animals and home-cooked meals. Her favorite attire is comfy jeans. Her best manicure features garden dirt under the nails. But when her teenage crush, the wealthy, dashing man about town, Joe Chambers, wants to make her his bride, Alice is more than willing to play Cinderella to Joe's prince. Never mind that he wants her to change. A diet, ice blonde highlights, stilettos, snooty gallery openings, and that he's allergic to nature and kids. She tells herself she's happy to sacrifice for love, and besides, with Joe's stunning good looks and high-profile career at a top financial firm, every woman in London wants to be in her shoes. But that's just the problem. Despite Alice's efforts to be the perfect wife, Joe soon reveals a penchant for being hopelessly unfaithful. When a notorious indiscretion with a female colleague forces Joe to transfer to New York, Alice's life turns upside down. As Joe continues to sneak around and her best friend's beau offers a tempting glimpse of what real love could be like, Alice must decide how much Cinderella she can take before her deepest desires win out, and if she can summon up the courage to find real happiness on her own. Delicious, witty, and packed with sparkling sex appeal, To Have and to Hold is an unputdownable read that will have you rooting out loud for its endearing heroine. A #1 bestseller in Britain, this latest tale from the beloved, utterly winning Jane Green proves that the search for true love doesn't always end when someone dons a veil, and offers a lively, refreshing take on modern marriage. So if you want me to read this, vote To Have and to Hold. All right, next up. Next up, we have The Pilot's Wife by Anita Shreve. Know what in the heck that was about. Crazy animals. Oh, I guess I hear a dog barking outside. That's what it was literally about. Because I could hear the dog in the distance, and now I hear them. Okay, so The Pilot's Life. I think this was another one that it looks like it was book 3 in a series. And I did unhaul that one. All right, next up. Next up we have On Second Thought by Kristen Higgins. I don't know. I feel like I unhauled it, but it doesn't look like I did. I have not read it. This says, from the New York Times bestselling author of Good Luck with That, If Only You Knew, and now that you mention it, comes an irresistible look at the affection and the acrimony that bind sisters together. Ansley O'Leary is so ready to get married. She's even found the engagement ring her boyfriend has stashed away. What she doesn't anticipate is being blindsided by a breakup he chronicles in a blog, which of course goes viral. Devastated and humiliated, Ansley turns to her older half-sister, Kate, who's struggling with the sudden loss of her own. Kate's always been the poised, self-assured sister, but becoming a newlywed and a widow in the space of 4 months overwhelms her. Though the sisters were never close, she starts to confide in Ansley, especially when she learns her late husband was keeping a secret from her. Despite the murky, blended family dynamic that's always separated them, Ansley's and Kate's heartache bind their summer together when they come to terms with the inevitable imperfection of relationships and family, and the possibility of one day finding love again. So if you want me to read this, vote On Second Thought. All right, next up. Next we have Summer Island by Kristen Hanna. Let me check. I felt like I unhauled like all of these Kristen Hannas, and maybe I did and just never marked them. I feel like a lot of these books I did that. Like I feel like they were ones that I decided I didn't want after all, and I hauled them, but just never ended up marking it on my thing. But I could be wrong. Summer Island is one that apparently I do still own and have not read. This says, years ago, Nora Bridge walked out on their marriage and left her daughters behind. Now she is famous talk show host. Her daughter Ruby is a struggling comedian, and the two haven't spoken in more than a decade. Then a scandal from Nora's past is exposed, and Ruby is offered a fortune to write a tell-all about her mother. Reluctantly, she returns to the family house on Summer Island, a home filled with frayed memories of joy and heartache, confronting a past that includes a never-forgotten love, a sick best friend, and a mother who has harbored terrible family secrets. Ruby finally begins to understand the complex ties that bind mother and daughter, and the healing that can come with forgiveness. So if you want me to read this, vote Summer Island. I think we're at 18 books at this point. It looks like there's still 3 back there. Oh my goodness. Okay, so it's really going to be down to these 3. I have to still own and have not read all 3 of them to make me have to pick the top 3 voted books. If I've read or unhauled any of them, then I only have to pick the number 2 voted, the top 2 voted books. All right, next up. Okay, so these last 3 actually have 4 books in each one. So I can tell you about each of the books. So this one, these are Reader's Digest Select Editions. So I unhauled all 3 of those. I don't even have to look. I've unhauled all 3 of them. I know I have. They all went to my little free library stuff. Oh my goodness, okay. So that's it. Okay, so first let me tell you, before telling you like the whole list of this is what you can vote for, let me just tell you, ooh, take my earbud out. Let me just tell you the ones that I plan on unhauling after this. So I'm going to be unhauling Kingdom of Souls, Weave the Lightning, The Borgia Confessions, Elysium Girls, Summerland, 3 Wishes, On Second Thought, and Summer Island. So if you were planning on voting for any of those, don't bother unless you're really adamant that I read this book and I don't unhaul it. So if that's the case, then yes, absolutely, you can vote for it. But otherwise, you can just ignore those. So the ones I would say, yes, go ahead and vote for, we have Thief of Karaman, Summer of Fear, White Rabbit, The Midnight Lie, Lost and Found Sisters, The Last Anniversary, The Book Club, The Sea Sprite Inn, and To Have and To Hold. So comment down below which book or books you would like for me to read in the upcoming month. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye.